Welcome to Cities Untold Lowtown. I'm Nate, and I'm going to give you a hands-on demonstration of how our brand new modular roof system works. Let's dive in and take a look. Everything you're about to see are handmade prototypes cast in-house in resin. They are often imperfect or even unfinished. The versions you'll receive will be factory finished in dwarvenite and will be much more precise and consistent. Viewer discretion is advised. First, let's walk through the basic building pieces of the system. So we've got the straight roof, we've got the hip roof, the valley roof, the diagonal hip roof, the 2-inch peak, and the cupola. So all of these pieces, if you get them painted, they're available either in our dark paint scheme or in our brighter green paint scheme. All of the roofs, like our original roofs, have metal plate embedded under them, so you can attach magnetic accessories, such as a chimney or a perch. They all have their dead side on the bottom, so this will be featureless gray dwarvenite on the bottom. They're sculpted, the top surface is sculpted to be angled slate. You see beautiful little texture in there. The sides and backs are sculpted to be wood. The sides that tend to be exposed are a little more weathered, but the inside is a little more clean. The sides are also sculpted to match the floors. So if you're building them in line with floors or above floors, that's some nice visual continuity there. On the inside, there's a little door sculpted on this straight. So if you're doing an attic build or some such, you can use that as a little passageway or storage or a narrative queue or whatnot, or you can just ignore it. There are biscuit holes on these sides, and those are generally for attaching the roofs together with a pair of biscuits. You can also use them for attaching these to the outsides of buildings or floors for building attics or platforms and the like. There's going to be biscuit hole on either side, which this prototype does not yet have. In addition, there are a pair of pole accessory holes used to attach soffits. So we have these little rake soffits that can give you an overhang on the exposed side of your roof if you want. So we have a bunch of these paired soffit holes that you'll find on these roofs. In addition, on the top, we have another pair of pole accessory holes. These are for accessorizing the top of your roof, such as using a pole accessory, or we have some new roof ridges. You can also use them to affix scaffolding for roof runs and widow's walks. So a ton of different ways to attach these roof pieces. They are riddled with holes to make them super functional. The hip has the same 45-degree pitch as the straight, but it has a nice 90-degree turn here. It's got the back sides will have a pair of biscuits here and has the soffit holes there and there for attaching soffits as its sides exposed. You can also use these to attach them to each other if you'd like additional strength on top of the biscuit, but it's not required. The valley is a concave 90-degree turn. It has the same weathered sides like the straight, and the back is a little more clean, or if you were using it for an interior build. This has a pair of biscuits there and there. It will have biscuit holes here and here, which are not on the prototype yet, as well as it has the holes, paired holes for the soffits to attach, and it has 4 holes on the top here for roof ridges and other accessories, roof run, planking, and the like. The diagonal hip is very similar to the straight hip, except it goes at a 45-degree turn rather than a 90-degree curve. So this is mostly used for putting on top of your diagonal walls. But you can also use it to make like a pair of them to make an awning or whatnot, and we'll walk through that in some of the building techniques. We have the 2-inch peak, and this is used if you want to extend your roof into a 2-inch increment rather than a 4-inch increment. Generally, you're using the roofs paired, so you're using 4-inch increments. This lets you then open them up to do 6-inch increments, or if you had more of these, you could do 10 and the like. It's got the same little louvers on both sides and a little rosette on the top. It has 2 full accessory holes on the top for accessorizing and attaching scaffolding planks. In addition, on each face, there are a pair of little full accessory holes so you can attach. It has its own custom soffit. It has a little 2-inch peak soffit that you can attach there. If you want to have overhang and you can do a continuous soffit run with the straights, we'll show that in the latter part of this video. And finally, we have the cupola. This one is designed to sit on top of built roofs. So it has a negative space cutout that is the same profile as the roofs. And it's used generally for building up from there. There are city builder peg holes here so you can put in corner posts and narrow walls and build a little tower or steeple or belfry or whatnot. It has a operable trapdoor hole in here, so this will fit any of our small trapdoors. This prototype doesn't quite fit yet, but it will. That'll be operable. And it has biscuit holes on all 4 sides that let you use it to attach. If you're doing a roof front with planking, it lets you put scaffolding to it. You can put accessories on it, or you can use it if you wanted to suspend a bridge from roof to roof, something like this. And we will walk through this in the advanced building techniques section of this video. All right, so those are the basic building pieces. Let's see how these things build together. So the fundamentals of building with the roofs are generally you want to attach the square sides. And then you do that in various combinations. So you take the square sides, these to the square sides, those, and the triangle sides to the triangle sides, and the like. And once you've sort of figured out what you're going to do, you can then put biscuits in biscuit holes and snap your roofs together. And generally you want to affix usually 4 or more pieces together into larger chunks that you can use. And often you'll leave them together and use the same shapes over and over again. For instance, if you take 4 hips, you can put them together like this and make a tower-style roof, which you can use on a variety of buildings. You could put 4 straights together to make a straight-style roof. And these you can then chain together in a row to make longer or shorter. You can also put soffits overhanging sides for a different look. We'll walk through that in the accessorizing in a moment. Or you can mix and match and you can put 2 hips with 2 straights, and then you could take a pair of these and put them together to cover a 4x8. You could imagine this is green. You could build an even longer building like that. Or if you want, you could take a valley and a hip and a pair of straights to make an L. So fundamentally, you're just going to be building a bunch of shapes. And once you have something that you really like, you can biscuit them together. You could biscuit all of these together and lift them off L as one unit. So you could lift your roof off as one whole unit. In this case, I left them in like 4x4 chunks so I could kind of play and figure out what I was going to do. All right, so now that we know the basics of building, let's look at how we can add some accessories to give them some flair, and then we'll look at some advanced building techniques. All right, let's take that same L-shaped roof and accessorize it a little bit. So all of these roof pieces here have steel plates embedded in them. So you can stick on any of our magnetic accessories, such as a chimney. We also have a perch, which is probably our most useful accessory. This lets you place any of your minis up on a roof. You can also use it if you're having combat on the roofs. You can move it around as your minis are moving and use it to represent where they're standing on the roof. You can also, if you attach this to the bridge, you can biscuit 2 of these to our rope bridge. You can do something like this. So you can use these perches to connect buildings via this bridge. Who doesn't want to have a combat on an elevated walkway like that? It's really fun. So we also have an LED dormer window accessory. So this takes any of our window insert pieces. So in this case, it's the original open shutters from the original City Builder system, as well as our window pane inserts, and it has a baked-in LED and battery. And you can just pop this on the roof anywhere where it's metal to give a little life to your upper story. Maybe there's someone in the attic working on something or whatnot. It really makes your building look lively. So in addition to the magnetic accessories, the cupola is another fantastic way to add some character to your rooftops. So you can pop this on anywhere that you have two roofs meeting. And at its simplest, you can pop the 2-inch peak on it, and that just gives you a little tiny cupola. You can use it for ventilation in your warehouse or barn. You could also use this as a place to attach a suspension bridge or a platform. Or you could take these City Builder pegs there and using some corner posts and narrow walls, you could build like a little lookout tower or steeple. You could fit your mini in there, and then you pop that 2-inch peak on there, and you have a beautiful little accessorized roof. Great for making like a little rustic church or whatnot. You could also swap out one of these narrow walls for a narrow door wall, and then have attach the bridge or any of the scaffolding planks, and have this as an elevated way to access your building. All right, so next, let's take a look at how we use our new rake soffits to accessorize the open fronts of roofs. If you want to add some visual variety and finish up the edges of your roofs, we have these soffit pieces, and they take 2 pegs on the back, and there's peg holes on the sides. All the triangular sides of the roofs have these paired holes, so you can just pop these soffits in and create some overhanging eaves on your roofs. And it gives like a really nice kind of finished look to the roof. We also have a soffit for a 2-inch peak, so you could pop that on there, and then that would run in line. Let's say you were putting a roof, say this was a roof on a 6-inch wide building, you could pop that on there, and the eaves would be continuous, right? You have a nice continuous run over there. If you want to get fancier, we have a 4-inch peak. So this one has a slanted forward silhouette. The profile is really pretty grand, and all this decorative sculpting on the front, splash of color. So this really classes up the front of your building and gives it a very different look. And the goal here with the soffits is you can use the roofs without the soffits, with the rake soffits, or with the big peak soffit, and create a bunch of different roofs using the same pieces. So every building in your town or your village or city can look different just using the same pieces. In addition, if you want to do bigger roofs, if you had an 8-inch roof like this, once again, the eaves will line up, the soffits all line up and create a continuous eave if you stack on top like this. Or you can use that big decorative 4-inch peak to create a really grand front to your building and make this one really stand out. Let's say you were doing a straight roof run here. This side you take a pair of valleys, leave that open face. You could pop that 4-inch peak over there to give a nice decorative face to the side of your building. And finally, you can take the, using the pole accessory holes in the corner posts, you can attach the 4-inch peak just to the side of your building and use it as a little overhang for a doorway or a window or just a decorative area on the side of your building. So lots of possibilities with this 4-inch peak, and the soffits as a whole are going to lend a lot of interesting visual variety to your roofs. So we also have this new leaf style roof ridge that you can use to top off and decorate your roofs. So there's 3 pieces. There's the straight, which is 2 inches long. They're all 1/4 inch wide, and they will have pole accessory holes on the bottom to fit into the holes on the tops of the roofs. These prototypes don't have them yet. This is the corner, which goes 90 degree, and it has a pole accessory hole here. And this is the end cap, which is 1.5 inches on the base and has this extra long overhang, and also has a pole accessory hole there. So this means you can attach something like the new Sailor Moon piece in either the pole. This will have a pole in it, or you can take any of our older pole accessories, like this little gargoyle, and use that and decorate your roof with any of your pole accessories for further personalization. So let's see how they work in practice. So let's take a straight roof here. We've got a 6-inch long straight roof with a pair of the 4-inch gable peaks hanging off on either side. So you could just take 3 straights. Once again, these will have little pegs that'll hold them if you want. You could put 3 straights right across the middle, let the sides hang out like that. You could offset them by 1 inch. So it would sit something like this and add a 4th one. Boom, 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 boom. Oops. Line up something like that, and they'll stick securely with the pegs so you can move the thing around as one solid unit. Or you could center those all up and then pop a couple of ends on something like that. And you get one nice long continuous ridge line, and then you could use pole accessories to further accent it there. You could, if you want to go around a corner, you could do something like this, where you run the straights into a corner here, come around, and then you could put the same pole accessories or different pole accessories in there, and you have a real neat look. Really further dresses up. The idea is we're trying to give you as many ways as possible between the ridges and the soffits and the different colors. You have different visual variety with your roofs using the same pieces. And then finally, you can mix and match them with other accessories. So in this case, we have a pair of the ends offset by, they're on the 1 inch, so overhanging the soffits here, and then you can just put a straight on the end, something like that, and you can even put a straight on the top of the 2-inch peak to give it some style. The end cap is designed so that it overhangs. So if you start it at the 1-inch mark on a regular roof, it'll overhang really nice and cleanly over the soffit, something like that. So you could have a roof that was a couple of straights and a soffit, and terminate it with these, and it'll overhang really cleanly over the soffit and really tie the whole roof together. So the straight hip and valley are fantastic for covering any square buildings. But as soon as you start using the diagonal wall or the large diagonal wall, you need also to use the diagonal roof. And fundamentally, the diagonal roof will just cover any of the diagonal walls. So let's say you were building a little section of building here. If you cover this with just your regular hips, you would have an enormous amount of overhang over that diagonal wall. So what you'd want to do is swap out one of those regular hips for the diagonal hip. And now, voila, you've got some great coverage over that diagonal. And the same holds true basically anytime that diagonal gets built into a building. So let's look at a couple of use cases. Let's say we had a big old building like this. Maybe it had a thing that was jutting out like such. If you wanted to pop a diagonal into that corner, it looks really neat. To cover that, if you were up, let's say we had this had a second story and the roof was up here, you could just pop your diagonal roof in there to cover that. It's a little side shed or something. If you wanted to have it be all one part of a new, say it was a new addition on your building, you could pop in something like this. Here we've just taken, instead of the 2 hips and 2 straights, we've swapped one of the straights out for a valley and then thrown that diagonal hip over there, and it flows continuously. And this is an example of how you could use 2 different color roofs on the same building. Maybe this was the original building, and now they've added this addition, and it's got a shiny green roof on it there. Another application with those diagonal roofs and walls is if you had a couple of diagonal walls on the side of your building as a cool sort of cantilevered overhang. Looks really neat on the table. In this case, you would just take two diagonal roofs, attach them to straight roofs, and boom, you roof that thing, and it has a really neat, very medieval feel to it. So pretty much anytime you throw in a diagonal wall, you're going to throw a diagonal roof over it, and you should be covered. Now, let's go beyond these. We've been looking at 4-inch wide roofs. Let's go look at something that's 8 inches wide. Here's an example of an 8-inch wide roof. So in this instance, we've taken a 4x4 floor and we've biscuited all of these roofs all the way around to it, so you can lift this whole thing off as one unit. You can reveal the interior as the players explore it, and you can move it around pretty easily. In here, this is actually like playable attic space, and you could slot in walls if you wanted to. We have the corner posts in for building up higher, which you'll see in a moment. And in this case, we put a little LED dormer on the front to give it some character on the front. You can then top this off with sort of the tower-style roof, taking four hips, putting them all together, just something like that, with one big continuous roof. Or if you want, you could take 4 straight roofs like this and leave an open face on the front for sort of decorative flair on the front of your roof like that. Speaking of decorative flair, instead of just doing straights all the way around, you could swap out 2 of the straights for 2 valleys to once again make an open face. And in this case, we put the 4-inch peak soffit there for a big decorative front to your building. It's framing these windows. It looks extra nice there. If you want, you could put maybe second soffit up there, soffit to soffit. If you want to get even more grand, something like this, you can take any 4-inch section and just put another 4-inch floor with walls. You can go up a couple and start making the tower, right? You can make it more like a lookout tower or a little wizard's lab up there or whatnot. You can just go up a couple more stories, give it a more grand feel. But fundamentally, once you start working with the straights and the hips and the valleys and the diagonals, you can make limitless shapes, right? We can't even show all of them to you in this video. You'll see a variety of shapes peppered throughout the landmark and district builds. It should give you an idea of what you can do. But fundamentally, anytime you're using the 4x4, the 2x4, the 2x2 floors, or the diagonal floors, you'll be able to cover those with the corresponding roofs, and the combinations are really limitless. Now, if you have a large diagonal wall as part of your build, you can cover that very easily using one diagonal hip and a pair of straights. In this case, I have them biscuited to one of the City Builder basics, the corner there, to hold it all together. But you could then attach them to a floor or to each other or whatnot. So you just pop that over, and boom, you get perfect coverage using the same diagonal hip. The other thing you can do with this diagonal wall is you can pop in the dangle room. So this interesting octagonal room creates another fun roof challenge. So you build your roof just like regular, but leave out, instead of putting where normally there would be a hip roof that doesn't quite cover our dangle, you pop that out and you'd use we have a wizard hat roof that's specially designed for this. So we have the front half, you can put 2 of these together for solid, or in this case, we have a transition. The back part is a transition, which will fit something like that. And then we have this last little bit that's filled up with, we have the backfill piece here. So you pop a biscuit in the backfill. This thing will have texture. This prototype doesn't have it. It'll have a little sculpted door. You pop that on like that, and then boom, you can build inline like this, and you could biscuit this out to the rest of your roofs. So you have a nice continuous path for your wizard hat roof here. And you can incorporate the dangle room into that diagonal. If you want to go up one level higher, we have an octagon tower extension. You can pop up there, and you take that same backfill piece, you biscuit that onto the back, slide that in Now it fits seamlessly there. And then you take two of the wizard hat halves and put them together to make one solid. And you have a nice, clean dangle room tower going up. And then you can continue to build your roof as usual from here if you wanted, or connect into the building. Our new modular roofs were designed to complement the existing roofs. So while the existing blue, slate, and terracotta roofs are not modular, you can't build them with the modular roofs. You can put them all in the same build, in the same city, and they'll all look fantastic together, give you some great visual variety. And the new roofs work wonderfully well with the older buildings. So this is the Fieldstone City Core building here. We're going to take the blue slate roofs off, and let's audition the dark roofs. So look at that. We can pop these on, and it looks wonderful, right? Now it gives it a real kind of heavy, rundown feel. And we've got a bunch of Fieldstone sets in Lowtown, so you could buy something very similar to this. That's great. Let's see what the green color scheme looks like on here. The green really pops against the gray stone. Look at that. Makes this building extra lively. And if you wanted to get even fancier, so we can put an exposed face here with the 4-inch soffit for a really decorative front. And look at that. The wood looks really nice against the stone there. So that looks awesome. All right, now let's take a look on Tudor. All right, so here is the Tudor City Core set with the terracotta roofs. So we're going to pop these off, and let's try the new dark paint scheme on here. And then you can audition the green. This really makes that green door pop and looks particularly good against that creamy Tudor color. That's fantastic. Now, if we want to fancy it up a notch, let's try that same exposed face with the 2-inch soffit peak. Look at that. It really decorates up that side. And this looks particularly good because the wood was designed to be the same color and style as the Tudor. So you can use the new wood and Tudor relatively interchangeably. And look how great it looks on there. So that is a great success. Now let's see what the older roofs look like on the new rustic wood. All right, so here we have a rustic wood building, 4x8. Let's put a couple of these roofs on there. So we'll put the blue slate roof on there. The color looks pretty good. One challenge is that the exposed face of these roofs has stone up there. Should be a little odd, but stone on the top of a wood building, but you can do it, and the color looks pretty good. In the midst of a big city, you might not notice. Let's try it in. Here's the terracotta roof on there. Color looks great, and on the exposed end here, at least the wood color lines up, so you could kind of buy that. It's like a fancy top on. It would be good for a fancier rustic wood building. And all of the magnetic accessories from our original roofs will work on the new roofs and vice versa because they have the same pitch and they all have metal. You can't build them together, but you can build them, put them on the same buildings or next to each other and the like.
And that's everything you need to know about our modular roof system. If you like this breakdown and want to see what else Lowtown has to offer, check out our YouTube playlist or our Cities Untold Lowtown website. Both are linked in the description below. If you still have questions, feel free to reach out to us on the Kickstarter comments, on our forums, or on our Discord. Thanks so much for watching, and now it's back to the anvil.